evening, good afternoon, good morning, whatever time you are watching this. Welcome to our Wednesday lives with Trey and Jay. I'm Trey.
And I am Jay. And I'm so happy to be here.
Listen, and as you already know, on this channel, it looks like I'm frozen, but okay. On this channel, what we do is we share our lives to encourage others to love Jesus, love themselves, and love others well. And please, throughout this conversation, I'm going to be making sure to say, make sure you like, you comment, you subscribe, because y'all, like, we've been doing this and it's been really good, y'all. So we need y'all to binge watch. We need y'all to send it to your friends, share, all the things, and make sure you subscribe because this is real good content that we're providing. So with that being said, I'm definitely going to slide it over to Janelle, as y'all already know, because she's always the one to drop in with what we're talking about this week. So let me hand it over to Jay.
So I'm excited to be here. As I said, like I said, I'm excited. I'm always excited. But this month we're talking about women. Obviously, this is Women's History Month, and we're talking about women who are making history now. And one of my favorite theologians is on with us right now. Her name is Ekemini, and she's killing the game. She's actually a part of a very, very well-known podcast called The Truth's Table. And they just came out with a book, y'all. Actually, you can pre-order it now. We're going to go into the details about that later. But we are so excited because Trey and I got a sneak peek to read some of it, and
Listen, we got VIP
were
access.
just like,
okay, that's all I gotta say. It was VIP, no ID access. Okay.
oh, okay, VIP. No, so we really enjoyed what we read thus far, and so I want to just bring Kimberly on. Her book is called The Black Woman's Musing of Life, Love, and Liberation, and it's by Christina, Michelle, and Kimberly. So we're gonna bring Kimberly on. Hey, girl. Hey.
Hey, I'm so honored to be on here. A woman making history. What?
Now, yes.
Now, making history now. Janelle, am I frozen?
No.
On my screen, it looks frozen. Okay.
That's
Just keep it going. Yeah, don't worry about it.
Oh my goodness. Ekemini, you are on, girlfriend. You were snatching up my edges for the time. Prayer, thankfully, I got good edges because Lord of mercy, you were snatching them piece by piece. Okay. We had the VIP no ID, as I said, access
No ID.
to
Where did she get this stuff from?
It was so good. I do just have to tell y'all, right before we got on here, I was yelling with full excitement to Ekemini, like, girl, y'all hit this one on the head, okay? And I just needed to say that before she even starts a word. Y'all need to get this book. Like, I'm not the
It's
person
good.
that endorse something that I don't actually like. I'm just not that person. And y'all should know, if I like something, I like something. If I say I'm with it, I'm with it. And man, oh man, Ekemini, you can talk because my girl, I'm fanning out right now. I really am fanning out. That's it.
Before we go on, I need you to move a little bit to my left, Ekemini, because I want to get the whole outfit. Yep. There you go. Yep.
Y'all see how the earrings is fitting with
we
the
gotta
dress?
get the whole
Like,
fit.
on.
We were missing your arm, so we wanted to get the whole thing.
Girl, if she got sweatpants underneath this from down, if she got basketball shorts, y'all, I'm with it because from here up, she was giving us the flavor. Okay, that's all that matters. That's all that matters.
Don't worry about sweatpants.
Who cares? We don't care about that. What we see is beautiful and we love it. And so thank you so much for being on with us. Thank you for sharing your book with us. Thank you for writing the book, you and Michelle and Christina. And thank you for Truth's Table. It's been a breath of fresh air. It's and it's so vulnerable. And like you guys, I feel like I know you all a little bit better, which I want to hang out or something. Like let's shoot the breeze. Let's talk because this was great. And I'm excited because in the beginning, you talk about this is for Black women. The Truth podcast is for Black women, and I feel like, clearly we're Black women, so I feel like you're talking straight to me, and I love it. I love it because a lot of times we don't get that, right? Black women, we kind of like get pushed to the side. So thank you for being on with this, and Let's talk.
Let's
Are
talk.
you ready?
I'm trying to update and post. I'm like, we are on. Pull up to the YouTube because
So,
this right here, I'm ready. I'm logged in and ready to go. Okay.
so actually, I started off with the first chapter. And
Yes.
so if you want to, there's a few, there's some chapters that we just want to hit on, but there at the end we're going to talk about any chapter you want to go over that we didn't discuss. Because there's so much rich information and there's so much to go through, but I know we can't go over it in this 30-45-minute conversation. So, girl, I was like, wow, I'm glad you shared what you shared. So the first part is life, right? So it's life, love, and liberation. The audacity or the audacious perseverance of colorism, excuse me. And I'm glad you shared your story because though I don't fully relate to obviously being a dark-skinned woman, the flip side I felt, and it's sad that this is the case in the Black community. It should not be in the Black community at all, but we understand why. So let's go into why you decided to talk about it. I'm so glad you shared your personal story. That advertisement, oh my God. Was it from the 50s? I don't know what year that was from, but like it just
I think it was around there, somewhere around.
Looks like it. So let's talk about the first chapter. I'm like, so many women can relate to that. My mom is about your complexion and darker, and she can relate to it. I mean, most people I know are your complexion and have a richer tone, and they can relate to it. So let's get into it.
Yeah, colorism it's a beast of a topic. There's just so many ways you could approach it. So many ways that it maps on to us in different ways. To talk about colorism as across genders, right? With men, how does that impact men, women? There's a lot of different ways I could have approached it. I knew I had to talk about it though because I moved through the world as a dark-skinned Black woman, and I know the price that I paid for that and continue to pay for that. And so there's times where I will oftentimes emphasize that, yes, I'm a dark-skinned Black woman, because there's implications for that because of the colorism, right? And so I think even in my article that I wrote last week for like Mahogany, I even talked about what it meant to be a dark-skinned Black girl growing up in California, and I talk about that in the book as well, because of the way that colorism shakes out regionally, right? So in some places, that's not to say colorism is not ubiquitous. It is, but it's intense in different regions, right?
Yes.
Colorism in New Orleans is gonna look a whole lot different than it does in Brooklyn. Like there's varying degrees, right? So colorism, let's say, my goodness, I don't know, let's pick DC, and then compare that to San Jose, California. It's gonna be different. It's gonna look a lot different. And so to me, it was important for me to talk about that. It was scary to talk about because of my own experiences and how vulnerable I had to be about what I thought about myself, about how I perceived myself, about how the world perceived me, and how that was projected onto me, and how I internalized that projection, right? Or internalize those messages, and the great, the near grave consequences. Had I the things that I did. In harming myself as a result of that internalized racism could be pretty, there could be grave consequences.
Yeah.
So Ekemini was using a product to lighten her skin at one point, and I'm so glad she stopped. I've seen it so many times. I've seen it so many women. And I see it less, at least in New York City. But I know it's still going on. So
it's the soaps, girl. It be the soaps. It don't even necessarily
right. It's embedded in the things that we use on a regular basis.
A whole situation in terms of what like you're doing a whole product haul, but it'll literally be some of the soaps that you use purposefully using them for that.
Exactly, Trey. And that's why in that chapter I do talk about the I talk about the numbers, right? You know, the stats are in there, the data's in there, you know, but I also talk about just how, you know, how laissez-faire it is, how common it is, you know, particularly in immigrant households. Like, you're going to see some bleaching cream or something. You're going to see some bleaching.
Currently, America's skin bleaching market is estimated to be worth over $5.6 billion. Didn't know it was that much, but I'm not surprised. You said, I mean, it's funny. I was like, the statistics are the things that like really popped out to me. So I put them to the side. How, you know, light-skinned women are 12%? I'm going off my memory. 12% less. They spend 12% less time in jail. That's wild. That's why I mean, yeah, I am not surprised, because what is the standard of beauty? Like, who started that? Who set the tone? And we know, you know, it's the white European, it's that white look. So even if you're Black with you know, lighter skin, you're considered more closer to the way they look. It's interesting, and we talked about, Trey and I talked about this the other day. My grandmother, the older the person in my family, the more they like my hair like this. And I rarely wear my hair like this.
Yeah.
And I will go to my grandmother with my hair curly, with this curly afro, and she'll be like, "You didn't do your hair?" And I'm like, "No, I actually just did it." So it's interesting what is beautiful to, you know, to who and whatnot. So
yes, absolutely.
It's amazing. And I love how you broke down Genesis 1 and 3 and how you took that and showed us like, no, it's actually in the Bible. Like, the Bible talks about this. And so y'all just get the book, because we can't go through everything, but like, you can read this yourself.
Y'all need to.
Yeah. So
it was it's just not something that you hear about in church. But
no,
it's something we all grapple with those numbers being what it is, and the dollars being spent. A lot of people are grappling with, you know, this is a real issue that people are wrestling with, and it really needs to be addressed, you know, in such
absolutely
to bring colorism and the cross together to make sense of it. And I hope
oh, go ahead. I apologize.
Oh yeah,
no. I was saying, I think you also I was gonna move to a different chapter, because I do want to make sure that we
because it's every chapter is so rich that we gotta move on to a different chapter so we can get through some of the book.
I have to say, this was too much in the best way. I literally was texting. I wanted to text her at like 3 a.m. when I was still reading it, and I was like,
no,
this is ridiculous. Like, I texted her a screenshot, and I was like, I can't. Like, it's just wild.
And it was,
like,
it was in the morning. I'm like, no, good morning, no, hey girl.
No! I didn't even start with my normal pleasantries, right? But I wanted to get into how you even added that, like, colorism to dating, to talking about the lie. I feel like I have to say it louder, like, the lie that everyone is fed, that you need to be more desirable. Like, you need to look a certain way to get a man. You gotta, you know, you gotta look a certain way to catch a man. Yeah. And talking about specifically, you know, skin being also part of that story too. So if you can elaborate on that without giving us too much of the deets from the book, but if you could just elaborate enough on that for us, please.
Yeah, you know, goodness. Yeah, I mean, I would say the colorism chapter and Hidden in Plain Sight, A Single Black Woman's Manifesto, they are good companions.
The title threw me out. Okay. Yes. The title took me
Hidden
out.
in Plain Sight. I said, oh my gosh.
How are you hiding in plain sight? I said, Ekemini about to wash us, y'all. Okay. Go ahead.
But you know, that is the case, right? You know, when you're talking about 62%, you know, sometimes, let me say the numbers are going from 62, previous census, 71%, tomato at this point. I mean, you're talking about 62% of Black women are, you know, unmarried. That's hidden in plain sight. There's a lot of them. Okay, so it ain't like we ain't hard to find.
Intelligent.
So it's not a lack of like, oh, I just can't find no.
Yeah.
Many of us out here. Like, so that's why to me that title was the right title to describe the situation that we're in, and so with the colorism piece, it's just impossible, I would say, to, at least in our context, here in the United States of America, to talk about Black women's dating experiences without any analysis or interaction or any intersectional analysis about colorism. It's just not possible, and so I think because I did a lot of the hard work in the colorism chapter, I didn't have to relitigate that in the Hidden in Plain Sight chapter, but I did say, controlling for colorism, which back to that chapter if you want to learn more about that. I that is also absolutely a layer that has
and it's crazy. It's so crazy because I have, in reading that, I was kind of stunned that like there was a part of me that was so stunned that that's part of the conversation. Cause I'm like, if you want shorty, you want her. Like, period. Like, you're not looking at what her skin tone look like. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that was wild to me because I'm like, I don't want to fast forward my question and I don't want to fast forward the conversation, but there's something else that I want to say within that. In that chapter, a few things that I want to say. There's
a lot of things.
But it's like, to me, I felt like that was stunning. Mm-hmm. Like that was very shocking to me to hear that as part of the conversation of who you will date. I've never heard that before, and I was having a conversation with a friend today about that particular statement. And beautiful woman, okay, beautiful woman, and she's married, and I was like, yo, like, what are your thoughts on this? And she was like, that's an absolute fact. And she was like, women who are Black women who are lighter in tone, they don't know that is an actual fact. And so she was like, you're not gonna know because that's not something that you're dealing with on a day-to-day basis. But for me, as she was telling me, for me, that was absolutely part of the conversation, to the point where, and it was blowing my mind because I really felt like you opened up a conversation that I likely would have never had, which is also something that I love about this book. Y'all gotta get this book. I'm telling you. Because it will foster conversations that you've likely never had. I've never had this type of
so good. It's so healthy.
I've never had this type of a conversation with a Black woman, a darker skinned Black woman, about her concept of dating as a Black woman. And when her and her husband now have children, the color of the children. I was like, yo, it was like voice, when you and your friends are having that conversation, voice note next to voice note next to voice note. That's literally the conversation that we were having, because I was just like, I never thought that would be part of the conversation, but for it to be part of the conversation, as pervasive as you made it as part of the conversation, even if the person you're dating is not articulating it in this way, it's already within me. I already have it. So it's already coming to the forefront.
Absolutely. Socialized into it. And people will pick, like, only date light-skinned women, or only date chocolate. They'll say chocolate, right? You know what I mean? Like, so it's just that there's just this objectification, right? So it's not even that you're not even loved or desired for all of who you are. You're desired because you probably have a thought about, I want my kids to come out like XYZ. I want my kids to below this. Or I'm trying to prove something about my own Blackness. And so that's why I want to be.
Lot of mercy. Did she say I'm trying to prove something about my Blackness?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Get me out.
Absolutely.
Ekemini is hitting the.
Ekemini is doing
right.
I mean, our preferences are not neutral. We're socialized into our preferences.
Yeah.
But you only like light skin when you only like, okay, you have to challenge that notion. Why is that? You got to challenge that. You know,
And then you added something. Y'all, it was too much. Excuse my excitement, y'all. But like you added something about the attachment of a black woman, a darker skinned black woman, adding to her level of power, her level of onus of her and her skin and like who she is. And I was just like, wow, wow. So before I can even get into the space of dating, there is an onus, there is a power of my skin tone that I must have boldly within me before I can walk out in this world, because I don't know if someone is going to, as you said, you had an experience with someone and it failed, epic failure. And I like, is it going to happen that way because of the fact that I'm not fully solid and locked into who I am as a woman, and as a woman with a quote unquote undesirable complexion. Wow.
yeah.
It's yeah. I mean, I know we're talking a lot, and I don't want you to speak, but you said something about proving, right? I think it is proving your blackness or something like that, or
Oh,
something
you mean
along
just
those lines.
now?
Yeah, just now.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah. Sometimes.
yeah. I'm not even gonna lie to you. My mother, she sort of said this. My mom is she's darker than you. And she said she was with my dad so her children could come out the way we look. My mom has, like my father is from Central America. He has the softer hair. He's lighter. He has lighter eyes. And so, my sister's about her complexion, but I'm the lightest one. And so because I'm the lightest one throughout my whole life, it was, oh, she's piss colored. Oh, she thinks she's all that. Or, she has the long hair, the light skin, and I think especially when I got to college, the guys would say, and this actually really, really, really got me mad. Oh, black women are out of style, but you pass. Excuse me? Or something along those lines. Something along those lines. I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was kind of like, you're exotic looking, so that's cool. But the other black women, they're out of style or something. I was so offended.
Yeah.
And we got into numerous arguments, but that doesn't work anymore. So the point I'm trying to make is like, yeah, there's a little bit of that in me as well. And I've learned that years ago, and God and I are just dealing with that because of how I was treated from my own family, my friends, but it's because of society and what's happening with them.
Yeah.
Just like what you're saying. So I'm so glad you wrote this, and I can go on and on, but we'll move on. If you have anything else to say.
There is a particular section that I must read to y'all. Okay.
Oh.
It was
yes.
I'm scared.
You read that, you said this, and I said she's coming for my neck. All right. So this says, and it's a brief one. So because y'all, I could give you too much. There's so much in here by the book. Make sure you're liking, commenting, and subscribing to this channel. All right. In my early 20s, people thought my singleness was endearing.
Yeah.
In my late 20s,
I remember that.
Gave way to bewilderment. As I entered my early 30s, bewilderment morphed into mystification. And in my mid 30s, mystification produced shame. In my late 30s, shame has transformed into anger. Y'all, we can log off at this point. I'm done.
So many people can relate to that.
Because I'm done. Let me tell you, I know we're trying to have this conversation, but Ekemini, if you wrote this, girl, you want us to be like this, okay? You want us to be like this, where we are struggling to try to let you speak, my girl, because we're struggling over here, right? But listen to me. This was too real. Let me tell you why. I recall my aunt, and this was April 2021. Okay.
So not even a year yet. Almost
not even a year yet.
Okay.
My aunt specifically said to me, it's time for you to just find someone and have a baby. have some children.
Oh, I've been told that several times too.
And
Like,
I was like, well, Tati, I really want to be married
That's
to
right.
whoever I have children with. Oh, Tracy, please, like, why are you doing that? Okay. And can I tell you, I went to the bathroom. I was, we were all in the house together. I went to the bathroom and I literally was crying out to the Lord because I was like, you cannot have me out here looking stupid. Like I'm telling the people, you know what I'm saying? Like I'm telling the people, am I believing it? You know what I'm saying? I'm
like
telling
you're
the
trying to
people
do it
I'm
God's
waiting.
way, right? Yeah.
I'm waiting for who God provide. He's taking too long. You need to find somebody. You beautiful. Just go get somebody and just have sex and just get some. And I'm like, yo, I feel crazy. I feel dumb. Like, and this at that very moment, Ekemini, when I read this portion of the book, I really got chills. Like I legitimately got to tell you that because that was very difficult to experience because this was my favorite aunt. This was my favorite aunt telling me that. So when you said that at this point your singleness became something where you were angered by, you were upset by, like, it's not I'm just upset. I'm angry with God about this. Because I'm like, I'm a baddie all day. As you said, I worked out. I keep myself healthy. I do what I'm doing. But what happens in this moment when I'm dealing with real anger about my singleness? Lot of mercy, Ekemini. I will stop talking. Go ahead, girlfriend. You go ahead and give it to the people because my girl, that right there, I'll stop. Go ahead.
It's a lot. It's a lot. It's that chapter right there. It's a doozy. That one is
for sure.
That one's a doozy. That's the longest chapter in the book. It truly is a manifesto. I could have kept going, but there's word limits, and I definitely pushed past the word limit on that one. But it's a tough one. I thought it was important it required complete vulnerability. It's true. People have always been fascinated and bewildered by my lifelong single status, and this was not by choice; it's by circumstance, right? But it's always been something that's been confounding to them and to me, But when you do the analysis, and you read the books, it does make sense. But yeah, when I talk about the righteous anger, that feel, I say it's righteous because desiring marriage is a good desire.
Yeah.
Marriage was not our idea; it was God's.
Say it again, because a lot of single women don't want to say that. They don't want to admit to it. I used to be that one. I didn't want to admit to the fact that I desired it, but it's a good desire, like you said.
Yeah, it's a good desire, and I do think that in our society we because we want to shield ourselves from the risk and the pain of hope, and a hope that's deferred makes the heart a hope that's unfulfilled. Whew.
Yes,
but I also want to quickly mention, and this is a different chapter where Michelle was saying, first of all, Michelle took me out too. Y'all were just coming for me, blow
like
for blow. Y'all were coming for me. Y'all were coming for me. But Michelle mentioned how in complementarian theology that it is deemed that marriage is how you get to be loved by God the most. And when I read that, I was like, wow.
Yeah, she went there.
That is complete sass. Like that
it's
thought.
crazy because these people will believe that and project that onto you. So if you are a woman who is single and desiring marriage, you could potentially then now desire marriage as a form of completion in your mind. as opposed to desiring marriage to fulfill whatever the Lord has for you and your husband to do on this side of eternity. But I heard that part of like, yo, I am single and I desire marriage. At the same time, there's so many different roadblocks that we're not talking about. And when I have to find it, but when I want to find the exact name and the book that you referred to, but they were saying that that is the most hidden civil rights issue that we need to talk about. I said, Lord of mercy, yes, because we need to talk about how many men are marryable, like marriage, like that we could actually walk in marriage with, when there's this prison to the school to prison pipeline is pervasive. How many people have been arrested, are in jail, all of these things. It's just bananas. And so giving us all of that background information was necessary to say, like, yo, it's not like somebody's not looking. It's not like we're just here, like, existing. It's There's so many different things that are roadblocks around us that we need to address too. So
there's so many factors, and it's just mass incarceration, all of those systemic mechanisms of oppression that I laid out have depleted the marriageability for women. If you want an intra-racial marriage, right? That marrying somebody of your same race, a Black man, in my case anyway.
So I'll just read the clip, the portion. It says, this was from Diane M. Stewart, Black Women, Black Love, America's War on African American Marriage.
Wow.
Okay, so the portion I'm going to read is, in some cases, Black women lack dating prospects within their socioeconomic group, and in other cases, they don't have any dating prospects at all. She characterizes Black women's lack of opportunities for love and marriage with Black men as the nation's most hidden and thus neglected civil rights issue to date. Wow.
It's wild.
It is.
It's wild.
Wow.
It is.
We have go ahead, Ekemini, and then we have a question that
I think I see that question. And so for me in this chapter, it was I think because of my own circumstance, which I guess, which after reading Dr. Stewart's book, I was like, okay, it's actually not that unique. I'm not a weirdo. And so I think because I really internalized was like, maybe it's me. Maybe there's something wrong with me. And so
because after a while of hearing that from other people from your community, because as you were saying, like at different age groups, within different age groups, it was something that people were trying to figure out.
Yeah.
And then it's easy to internalize something that you've been hearing.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, you're trying to figure it out yourself. Honestly, you're back too. It's not even just it's not just the external messages. It's you too. You're like, well, I seem to be the common denominator here, so maybe it's me. But I think so for me, I've had to, by God's grace, have an inner resolve, and so for me, it was important to be like, oh, there's life beyond this. I do desire this. It's not the end all be all. Will my life be made easier and better if I did have a good, loving, godly, partner? Yes, but God is with me still, and I still have purpose and power in all of those things, that we needed. So I needed I had to have an inner resolve in order to to get rid of the male gaze as being like so central, because I think it's so central for so many.
Absolutely.
Have the luxury of that because I was never really pursued. I never really had that. I was never the one that was like the hot stuff people were chasing after. So I never even really had that.
As you said, desirability is a scam.
Yeah, exactly. And so for me, somebody's asking about how do Black men respond to my work. I mean, honestly, I haven't, at least, well, we'll see what happens with the book, but I've never had any negative responses from Black men. They've actually always liked my work. so far, even on my singleness, my writing on singleness, which I don't talk about often. But I had to do it in this book. You can't write a book about Black women and not talk about that issue, so because it is so pervasive. But yeah, they respond to my work. I mean, so far positively. I'm not a misandrist, so I do believe that we need men and men do need us. I do believe that. So I know that social media is telling us otherwise, and there's these wars, right, between Black men and women that are popping off on Twitter, which needs to stop.
Yeah,
because it's getting
wild.
It's beyond toxic. And has serious consequences for us. But yeah, so they've responded positively. I'll have to see what happens when the book comes out, though. So, but I don't see why they would have a problem with it. I'm not saying anything.
So I wanted to talk about how you were referring to Black women, or women being complicit in the oppression of women, other women as well, and it brought to my mind around, just what you were talking about, how sometimes we have all these ministries that are popping up that are telling you that you need to be more desirable, that you need to, do something, look a certain way, sound like this, be a wife, but don't be a wife, show enough, but don't show too much. And it's like, where
it's exhausting.
The goalposts,
have sex, don't have sex.
Right. Have sex, don't have sex, don't give him too much, but give him just enough, And it's like, what is ever enough? Like the goalpost keeps moving here. And there was a portion, I just have to say, Ekemini, I just can't. If you were in front of me, girl, I would have been like glued. So luckily we on the people internets, because I can't take it. But I do want to read this portion of this part. So verse 3, we're talking specifically about how women are complicit in the oppression of other women. So after Abram had been living in Canaan for 10 years, Sarai, his wife, took her Egyptian slave Hagar and gave her to her husband to be his wife. In her desperation, Sarai saw Hagar. She took Hagar and gave Hagar to Abram. Sarah objectified, exploited, used, and abused Hagar by forcing her to marry Abram. That's it. Girl, go there.
That story always gets me. Like,
go there, because I don't think that we recognize how detrimental some of these single ministries are, because you're trying to give a formula, and this is where some you are complicit in the oppression as well, because you're saying that I am supposed to look a certain way. You are saying that I'm supposed to do a certain thing. And what happens when your formula is not one size fits all? What happens when that formula does not work? Do I now then look at God as someone totally different, which is exactly what happened with Hagar in the wilderness when she ran away? So it's like, where am I and how do I do this? And you were talking, which was so good, how the Lord provides us with these resources to live out this life. Like, it's not like he forgot us. It's not like he's left us, especially as we can see specifically if we're looking at Hagar finding him finding her in the wilderness when she's about to die. Like you mentioned that, like, if she did not go back, she would not have had any resources. She would have died, her and her child that she was pregnant with at the time. So I just think that it's so important to go there. So I'll stop.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot in that. And Hagar is honestly, you can have a whole Bible study, an hour on Hagar.
Absolutely.
That's a hard it's a hard but tender story. You have Hagar, an Egyptian and African woman, naming God, the first person to name God, the first person to see God, like a theophany in that way. So God, or appearing, before her in that way. You know, it's just, yeah, there's so much I could say about that, but yeah, I think that, yeah, women are absolutely complicit. I mean, even in that chapter, I talk about the male hucksters. I have a mention about female hucksters too, you know, on the YouTube, Instagram, you know, industrial couple industrial complex, you know, and how, yeah, if you do this, you do that, you know, which all these rules ain't nothing but legalism, nothing but legalism.
Wow.
And if we can
Come
earn
on.
then
Come
it's
on.
not a blessing. It's called a wage. All right. And so, and we don't earn blessings. Blessings come as a matter as an overflow of God's grace to us. Praise God, you know, for the blessings that we get, but we don't earn them. It's a matter of grace, you know.
Yeah.
And the reality is that marriage is not a blood bought promise. There is not a formula for how.
Child.
Man, and
Come on and say, can you please repeat that? There is no what?
There's no formula for how to catch a man.
Yeah.
If anything, and anyway, we are the prize, right? They gain favor from us. So I just, it's just like, but because we are living in because of the dynamics within our community and the numbers are simply not there. The reality is sad. The sad reality is that every Black woman who desires to be married to a Black man, and I'm not saying everybody does it, but I'm saying
yeah,
do. The numbers are not there for all of us to be married.
There's not enough matches. There really isn't.
There's not enough, man. Yeah. It's just not. And I know that's hard. That's a hard reality. That really is, you know. But marriage is not a blood bought promise.
It's not.
I checked. It ain't there in the text. But God does provide us with survival strategies. God does give us purpose. God does take care of His children. Yes. I know it's hard to come to that realization and conclusion. But you know what? As long as you have a breath in your body and you have the desire, God can still do it, right? And so that's the risk of holding out hope. That's the risk of walking by faith, is knowing that God can surprise us with good gifts and that God does not withhold anything that's good for us, you know.
Right.
The question is really, is this good for you? Will this enhance your life? Will this glorify God in the way that God wants to be glorified? Maybe He wants to be glorified in a different way in your life, and that's hard. I know.
I just have to mention where you talk about, I consider the Black love He has given me in friendships, in the local church, in mentors, in my family. Black love is a survival strategy in a country hell-bent on destroying it with each successive generation. I think that was so good, because it is absolutely necessary for us to, and I'm not saying you cannot have your desire while engaging in these relationships, but recognizing that there is Black love that you are experiencing on a day in and day out space. That doesn't mean that you don't want or you don't desire. It just means that, you actually are receiving Black love. And I love that you mentioned that. And I loved how you mentioned the miracle. Like you said, I was when you see a Black woman marry a Black man in this present day and time, know that you are witnessing a miracle, and God is still in the miracle working business. My God, it was so good. It was so good.
It is true. It is true. It is true. I still think, wait, this actually happened. Like, because I thought I was either not going to get married, and I was like, well, you know, like you said, it's not what God wants. You know, maybe He doesn't want to get the glory. You know, it is what it is. I'm still loved. I still have good friends or whatever. And then it was, well, maybe he won't be Black. And I was like, but I want him to be Black. Right. You know, and thinking of all the statistics you said, there literally, if Black women, if whoever the Black woman is, if she actually wants to get married to a Black man, there's not enough. There's not enough. So it is discouraging. And if God wants to do it, He'll do it. If He doesn't want to do it, He won't do it. So I truly believe it is a miracle. And I love the fact that you talk about community being Black love, because I would say, to be honest, like, having friends and being good to my friends and my friends being good to me, loving me and me loving my friends, prepared me to have a family.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm not saying that was the reason why, but like, it was something that was very beneficial to having a family. And that is why I try my best to make sure that I still keep my friends and still love my friends and not forget about my friends, single or not single, So
yeah.
Black community.
So good.
Black love. Yeah. That's so good.
I have to get into, I know this was Michelle's part.
Yes, let's talk about it. Woo.
So today so first of all, as I said, I've been having mad conversations. Make sure y'all like, subscribe,
and share.
Subscribe, share, comment, all the things. Shout out to the people in the comments. But I was having a variety of conversations based on this text, okay? And which was so good. So thank you. Seriously.
You're welcome.
I was having a conversation with a friend who recently got engaged. And I was like, yo, like, I gotta talk about this section with somebody. So I was having the conversation, and she's like, wait, what you reading about divorce for? Like, you about to get married in like 2 months. And I was like, I know. But that don't mean that doesn't mean that we cannot open our eyes and our minds and our thoughts around the reality of things. And it was so important for me to have this conversation. I said, because where Michelle was coming from in the conversation was, no one cheated. No one got hit. And I think that part was stunning to everyone around her. And I'm just going to give y'all a little piece of it. And the piece of it is that this is the part when you recognize that you've built community, as you were saying, you built community, you built relationships, and then there is a break in the relationship and in any capacity. This is when you're actually recognizing who is around you, right? And one of the things, and I sent this message to Janelle, I was like, so Michelle had to sit with 5 white men to see if her decision,
were they in her marriage,
her husband, was valid. Wow, it's crazy. It's traumatic. It's hella traumatic.
And no women were at the table besides her.
No women at the table. And these are 5 white men. It's traumatic. And one of the things that she mentioned was the fact that she ignored y'all phone calls. And I think, and I really wanted to get into that, because you mentioned community. And one of the things that I wanted to mention specifically around community is sometimes you just got to keep going. You just got to keep calling, because that person is in a deep hole, hurt. In a deep hole of hurt.
You got to go after them.
That's not everybody.
You got to go after
That's
them.
not everybody. You don't necessarily got to give that type of energy to every single person. But she did make a mention to say, she was in a deep hole of hurt. And was not responsive. And so I just wanted to kind of get into, how do you be that? How are you that friend? How are you that friend? How are you that sister that is actively knowing that I am part of your community? You are part of my community. And I know we say the word community, but I don't want it to sound like it's far. Community does not mean far. Community means like interwoven within you. It doesn't mean distance, and of course, y'all don't necessarily have to live next to each other for it to be community. It's just that interwoven love and nature that you guys have together. And so I wanted to just ask, how are you that friend in that time?
Well, I mean, I think that we all need good friends that are going to be with us when we're going through some things, even when we push them away and don't answer their phone calls.
Yeah,
out of you, right? You need friends that are going to tell you the truth, about and show you and tell you when your slip is showing, even when you don't want.
Yes.
Not the slip. She said the slip.
Especially when you
No,
want.
Ekemini. No, I'm stopping you right there.
I haven't heard that in so long, but yes, you are very right. Tell me.
You know the slip was our grandparents' lingerie. Stop playing these games, okay?
I'm taking it back.
That little in your nose, something.
Slip,
You need
okay?
to cover some of that old stuff. Okay, I'm just saying.
She about to talk about the stockings and the hosiery, y'all. Stop playing
we
these
down bad. We down bad. I'm pulling back on slips and lap cloths, and we going back. We're going back.
Not the lap cloths. Get me out of here.
But you need a friend that's gonna pursue you or reach out. But you also have to have
a friend that's gonna pursue
I think
you.
Just to know when to press in, to know when to chill, to just pray.
Yeah.
Let the person talk when they want to talk, so that they know I'm looking at you, I'm thinking about you, I'm praying for you. No, you don't want to talk about it, but I'm just praying. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just, a little text here and there, maybe a little voice note, maybe a call, even though, the call ain't gonna get returned. That's all right. That's all right. Yeah. And you can't be offended. It's not about you, right?
Yeah.
There's no reflection on me. You know what I'm saying? The fact that Michelle we were calling her, she wasn't calling us back. It had nothing to do with us.
It had nothing. OMG.
She was dealing with, some very serious
it wasn't personal.
It wasn't personal. It's not about you.
Don't take it personal. Monica said it best. Don't take it personal.
You don't need to take it personal.
Right.
So I just think you pray, you give the person over to the Lord, and you do your best to show yourself to be a good friend.
Absolutely.
Yeah. If they're mad at you, then they can be mad because I'm loving you. Like, you know what I'm saying? I'm loving you into the light and into the truth, and here. To cry and weep with you too, because we need those moments to just cry and weep. Everything is not about rebuke and correction, and inserting yourself in people's relationships. You don't want to do that. You can only advise, based off of what somebody tells you. That's just not. You don't want to overstep boundaries. On those matters, those types of matters. It's very personal.
Yeah. This is so good, and it is already 8:55. And we only went through 3 chapters.
Oh my gosh.
There's so much. I wanted to talk about the forgiveness chapter, but really,
and the eyes married now.
The eyes, there's so many chapters.
It's too bad.
It's a lot to,
You're talking my language, black girl. Come on. Eyes married now. Marriage for the grown folks. I was like, yes.
For the
grown black women,
for the grown black women,
There's something in there for everybody. I feel like
it really is.
It really is.
Different stages of life or different issues.
I was catching all of it, and the reason, and one of the things when you said, and I said this before we even got on to you, I said when you said singleness is traumatic, I was like, girl. Why did Ekemini have to say that?
Because it's true.
I said, I know people are people in that particular space I was having. I'm just thinking of people gonna be like, "Girl, you engaged? You don't understand.
You still have
this is new.
That's new.
This is new. This is new.
Yeah.
This is new news.
Girl.
This is new news that I've been single for more years." For the months that I've been engaged, okay? Like, come on. And also how traumatic it is in the sense of how it makes you question yourself, question your validity, question who you are, question if you look good, okay? Question if you smell good, question if am I desirable? Am I doing too much? Am I too much of a boss woman? Does this mean that I need to be a bit more feminine? What does that mean? I need to be less of me. It makes you, I feel, question so many different parts of you, which to some degree I do believe is healthy, right? Because you're having one of the things that Janelle and I last year for our Galentine's Day, what we our theme was just talking about how we need to be radically self-aware And radical self, like the Lord has called us to be radically self-aware.
Yeah.
And that happens through asking the questions,
Absolutely.
through reflection, through unpacking. This is how he gets, you know, to heal our hearts so that we can even walk into anything.
Yeah.
Right. Right. And to say that, I never heard nobody say singleness was traumatic. I know I felt it. I know I have been saying that joint because I'm like, this makes me feel like, so nobody's gonna see. Like, I literally one day was praying like, so Lord, you just gonna hide me out. So, so none of the people gonna see me. Like, they not gonna see the kid. Like, they just not gonna see, like, word, like word.
No, seriously, I really do believe he hides us when he wants to and when he doesn't. For whatever reason he has.
Yeah.
You know,
absolutely. Oh yeah. I believe. I mean, that's why hidden in plain sight. It has several meanings. I mean, it is a double entendre too. It does speak to the current situation of Black women. Yes, single Black women, but yeah, I do feel like I have been hidden for sure. You know, but I think you know, I can't remember where I said singleness is traumatic, but I mean, I know that it out here in these dating streets in 2022, it can be a gaslighting extravaganza. You know,
oh my gosh,
my girl,
constantly like questioning yourself and all this, and I'm like, oh my goodness, just
not the one he's all about the Benjamins.
Yeah, it's just too much.
When you said that, I was done. I said, what music video was Ekemini watching when she was writing this?
Oh,
huh? That was a real profile.
Oh my gosh.
I really thought you were talking about It's All About the Benjamins, the song, the video.
Yeah, like Puffy and
no, that was a real profile. The name of the person was it's a lot.
Ma'am, no ma'am.
Because he believes that women want him for his money and
those were real profiles. You know, but
you know what? Because when you put this is my story, this is my song, when you shared about, you said a man never has pursued you. I said, no way. Like, I was reading it and I was like, this is the same woman that I've seen fly. Like, I was like, no. But I think
Janelle sent me that voice note. She sent me that voice note.
I said, no way. This is not true.
I'm confused.
Because I know they're looking at you. There is no way they're not seeing you. But I think the only thing is, like, God is hiding you for whatever reason right now. And I don't know. I don't know. But I don't know the explanation as to what else would it be.
But you know,
and I know everybody's baffled. Go ahead.
Everybody's baffled, but you know, I mean, honestly, the reality though, it's just like, but what do we? I mean, it's like, what really is the logical conclusion though of somebody being attractive, fine, whatever, you know, but somebody being unattractive, right, and undesirable? Is that person is that person unworthy of love because they're not considered
somebody's
desirable, or they're not? Sometimes these conversations about, you know, desirability and beauty, it's like, what are we saying about somebody that does not fit that bill? Do they not desire? I mean, do they not deserve, or are they not worthy, you know, of love? I think so. I was also trying to get people off of that, you know, desirability and the beauty, because I was like, it's not, honestly, at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter.
It doesn't.
It doesn't.
Very right.
It doesn't.
It's just one
that do not fit that standard that are married, you know, and happily so. And there's plenty of people that do fit that standard and are not married.
Yeah.
It doesn't, right.
Any one of your Hollywood actresses, you can see that, you know, it's like, you can look and be like, oh, they're not married. How come? Or they never got married. Why is that? You know, so I don't know. I wanted to complicate the narrative a little bit more with that, because we do look at the outside, you know, of course, and God looks at the inside. Yes, we know the scripture. But
you did.
That's how we're wired. And of course, because attraction is a big part of, you know, dating and things like that. So I'm not saying it doesn't matter at all. I'm not saying that. But I just was wanting to complicate, you know, and talk about like desirability.
And I love that you even talked about how the church can support and help.
Yeah, interventions.
Wow, the church.
Yeah.
I could diagnose all day. I could tell you, I could spot out problems left and right. It's not a hard thing, but what are some solutions? So I thought that was
right.
To look forward to. So, I mean, it is definitely a revealing book, a revealing chapter in particular. A lot of vulnerability, but I think that there's still hope woven in there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't want you to feel like, oh gosh, is this going to trigger my? I don't think
No.
it will, but I think that it will. I do lead you somewhere. I do.
Yeah.
I try to.
Yeah. Yeah.
But to someone, not someone, to someone.
Yeah,
King Jesus.
absolutely.
King Jesus.
I think it was something, at least for myself, I will say, it was definite. It felt like a manifesto. It felt like I was reading something that would come from me. You know what I'm saying? Would come from me and come from my heart of like how this has felt. Like I've been like, you know, one thing that you mentioned was like I'm going to the gym, I'm working out, I'm taking care of myself, I do these things. So it's like I've been desirable. So if we're talking about desirability, no. We got to get past that, because once I moved from California to Philly, then I was like, oh, okay, so I am far more desirable in this community than I was before. But if we're talking about desirability, it's a shallow understanding of the reasons why we lead into attraction. We need to get into depth as to what it is, and it's not just a conversation of oh, you should do this more, you should do that more. But I just wanted to because I know, oh my gosh, Ekemini, I could talk to you for this whole time, because girl, you were giving it. But I wanted to know, how did you guys get to here? Like, how did this even come about? Like, let's put the link of your book to pre-order,
in the chat.
Yeah, let's put that in the chat. How did you guys get to here? And if we can get a signed copy, I'm gonna just put that out there. You can buy a signed copy. Boop, let me just put my request out there. Janelle says this about me all the time. Tracy just be asking for the things. She like,
so funny.
Tracy will ask for whatever.
That's right. I ain't mad at you. I just
I have learned that. I have learned. She'll come to your house. Huh?
How do we get to, like, what do you mean, like the book or?
Yeah. No, well, a little sidebar. Tracy will ask for whatever. I was gonna say she'll come to your house and ask for some juice, and you'll give her the cup that you think is best, and she'll say, "No, can I have a bigger cup?" That's Tracy.
No shame.
No, zero.
But anyway, thank you for the link.
How did you guys get to? We're writing the book. We're doing this. These are the topics. How did you map this part out?
Yeah, well, we were. I was actually approached by an editor at Penguin Random House to write a book, my own solo book, which God gave me an idea for, but I wasn't ready yet to write it. And so, she also, and some other publishers have reached out to us for Truth Table to do the book, but the money wasn't there. I mean, 3 people. You're going to have to come up with enough money for us to be able to say no to some speaking gigs in order to sit down and say yes to writing the chapters for the book.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Girl.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, so Penguin Random House, the editor was a fan of Truth Table and was like, man, y'all should write a book, based on the show. And we were like, okay, like we could be on topics, on the show and things like that. And so I was like, okay. And so I took it to Christina and Michelle, like, what do y'all think about this? And they're like, okay. And then so we started writing the proposal. And so, and we didn't tell each other what to write. We just kind of wrote. We're like, okay, all we did was each of us was gonna do 4 chapters. So whatever topic you want to write, put it in the
do your thing
proposal and write your little summary for each one of it. And that's what we did. And so we chose topics that were important to us. Even stuff that we haven't talked about on the show. Like Michelle hasn't talked about divorce. I didn't go, we talked about colorism. I don't think I went as in depth on colorism as I did in that book. We talked about hidden in plain sight, but I didn't really give my story like that. Because again, I don't talk publicly about my singleness typically. There's a lot of reasons why I don't do that. But yeah, so we just kind of went based off of what was important to us and what we've kind of touched on the show, and we know that the sisters will want a deeper dive, into. And so that's how we ended up choosing our chapters and what we would talk about. And of course, it's shifted and changed a bit, in the writing process. But yeah, that's how it happened. So we got our the book deal in the pandemic, right? So everything shifted. We were not speaking at conferences as often, getting on planes or traveling at all, right, because of quarantine and everything. And so, yeah, and so the book deal, we struck that in like July 2020. Let's just say summer 2020 is when we got the book deal, and then we started writing in maybe the beginning of 2021, somewhere there. And so first quarter of 2021. And so that's how it came about. And so we were like, okay, that's another way for us to, just get some income to steady us, since we're not out speaking, and this virtual stuff. So everything is, things are still in limbo, right? And precarious and odd. But yeah, so that's how it came about.
Wow. I love it. Thank you so much for sharing that. Because we'll talk about that later. I'll email you. But Trey and I know Trey started a book, and I'm writing a book too. So that's very encouraging. That is very encouraging. Is there anything else you would like to say? Because we're at 9:09 already. I'm just trying to be, courteous of your time. So
you know what? No. Well, thank you all so much for having me. And it is so encouraging to know that the book has resonated with y'all in this way. Like, I could genuinely feel like, no.
Yes, we are telling the truth, honey.
Like, y'all reading it and rereading it, and that is my hope for the book, is that it would be like a Black woman tome that you go to over and over again and be like, what they say about marriage again? What she say about divorce? What she say about colorism? And be able to get like a good, like, solid critical analysis of just a sociological, historical, biblical analysis all in one is what I've at least attempted to do in my chapters, for sure. And so my hope is that you all would spread the word. Of course, thank you so much for lending your platform to me to speak about the book, and the sisters that are watching, thank you. And the brothers too. If you're watching, you're out there, is my hope is that you would support and that you would pre-order. It really, really matters. A big deal. Pastors, if you're out there, I ask you pre-order for your church, because I think there's just issues that we don't talk about in the church, but people are really dealing with. And so they're going home and they're trying to find these answers on YouTube, and they're getting sucked into the manosphere, the womanosphere, the womanosphere, or whatever they call the women's.
Yes, there's a lot of stuff out there. I mean, we're on YouTube too.
About what they need to do to catch a man. It's just, there's a lot of junk out there. And so we're trying to provide an intervention, a resource, a guidebook, if you will. You can think of it as a Black woman's survival guide, if you will, truthfully. So yes, my hope is that you spread the word. Word of mouth is huge. And just be like, particularly your single sisters, give them this book.
Absolutely. So when is it coming out?
April 26th.
Yes.
The latest deadline is the latest update we've heard. So prayers, because the supply chain, it was going to be April 12th, but now it's April 26th. So let us pray that date holds. So, but yeah, April 26th is when the book will be out. But pre-order, because pre-orders are really important. It lets the power brokers know that the words and thoughts of Black women are really important. And
exactly. Our voices need to be heard. And we want it. And so thank you. This was a special time. We loved it.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Ekemini girl.
Yeah.
You gave good conversation, okay? Y'all was doing it. So I'm so excited that you guys tuned in with us on tonight. Thank you so much, Ekemini, for joining us. As you guys already know, this is our Wednesday lives with Trey and Jay, and I'm Trey.
And I'm Jay, and I'm thankful.
Yes. I'm full. On this channel, what we do is share our lives to encourage others to love Jesus, love themselves, and love others well. Thank you so much. We're out.
Good night. Take care.